In 2013, Apple released iPhone 5S. It was kind of revolutionary. It was the first iPhone to ever include Touch ID, and it was the first ever iPhone to ever include 64-bit CPU. And these things in 2019 seems to be kind of standard. But let's take a look on the original 64-bit iPhone. So come with me. The design of this phone aged really well. The smooth aluminum construction with Apple logo on the back still looks fantastic, and it's just as fantastic as it was in 2013. But what can't be dated is the thickness of this phone. The phone is 7.6mm thick, which is not exactly bad thing, but it's not razor thin actually. On the bottom of the device there is lightning port with headphone jack and two stereo speakers that can be really loud for its size, and they are nice to listen, and they are overall just good. And the headphone jack was standard back then, so nothing fancy, but you can plug yours to your headphones, which is not something you can do with newer iPhones actually. And on the top there is power button for powering up the phone and turning it off. And on the side there is pair of two volume buttons and button for turning off the sound completely. On the front there is 4-inch display with resolution of 1136 by 640, and there is 1.2 megapixel FaceTime camera and speaker for phone calls, and on the bottom there is home button with Touch ID first generation, which works pretty well despite it being the first iteration of Touch ID. The specs didn't age as well as the design of this phone. The A7 CPU and 1GB of RAM are starting to show its age, and it's kinda low-end spec these days. But because it is Apple, the software is well optimized for the hardware, but sadly because the specs are too low, it cannot run iOS 13, which is big problem if you want to run the latest version of apps. But because this phone is so well optimized, it also helps 1560 mAh battery run quite long, and it helps to keep the battery life as long as you want. So that's kinda nice if you ask me. The 8-megapixel back camera isn't anything special. It takes kinda decent photos. I will let you judge the photos by yourself, but keep in mind my photography skills aren't very good, so keep that in mind. But this phone is able to record 1080p 30fps video, which is standard for these days, but it was very nice in 2013. The 1.2 megapixel camera isn't anything special, but it can record 720p video, which is completely fine for video calls, and I don't really take selfies, so I don't really care much, but I think it's completely acceptable. Not really that great, but not that terrible as you would expect. So, in 2019, is iPhone 5S, which is 6 years old, still worth it? Well, yes and no. Like many things on my channel, it is worth as the collector's item and as a phone for casual use, very casual use, like texting, phone and some light web browsing and maybe some Apple Music, but not for heavy use and not for people that look for best smartphone cameras and best performance in the phone. So that's it. Hope you like it. Leave a thumbs up, and for now, bye.